Hi there, this is Craig Beck from stopdrinkingexpert.com. Welcome into today's video, and I want to talk about a very common question I get asked, and that is, how do you stop someone from drinking alcohol? And I'll be honest with you, I've kind of delayed making this video because I like to give clear, concise advice that people can act upon, and they get a kind of predictable outcome. And with this question, I can't do that because, well, there's one key reason why I can't do that in this occasion, and we'll talk about that today.
Who wants to be the next to discover how to stop drinking without willpower? Visit stopdrinkingexpert.com and grab your free place on today's coaching session.
So how do you get someone to stop drinking alcohol? A lot of people come to my website, they get in touch with me and they say, I'm not worried about my own drinking, I'm worried about my husband, my wife, my daughter, my son. And by the time they get to me, they're in a pretty bad place. They're pretty panicked, they're pretty worried, they're pretty desperate. They're almost begging for me to help them. And it's frustrating and difficult because the truth is, and this is the reason why I can't give you a clear-cut answer on this, there is only one person on planet Earth that you can change. And it's you. And that is the harsh reality that dominates this area totally, because it doesn't matter how much you do for the other person. It doesn't matter how much you love them, how much of your time you dedicate to trying fixing them. It will only work with their permission, with their buy-in. And so the first thing I want to say to you is, if you've got someone in your life who's a drinker, is protect yourself. That is job number one. Protect yourself. Because if you get obsessed with their drinking, if you start monitoring every drink they have, if you start tidying up the mess they create in their life, if you start justifying their behavior, making excuses for them, trying to tidy up the damage they do, and so on, you will become fixated on their life and their drama. And what happens when you do that is you become codependent. And that's a bad place to be, because it means that you are entirely focused on this other person's life and the drama of it, and you are completely overlooking your own existence. And what you will find very quickly is your own life starts to unravel. You'll start to get financial problems. You'll start to have problems at work. You'll start to have problems in your relationship because you are focused in the wrong direction. So the most important thing you do when you are worried about someone who's drinking is you protect your own situation first before anything else. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not like there's nothing you can do apart from sit by and watch them crash their car into the wall. There are things you can do. And the first thing is, be honest. Be honest, loving, and respectful in your conversation with them. Now, as I said, by the time most people get to me, they're already pretty panicked and pretty worked up about this, because they've been promised hundreds of times by the drinker that they'll get this sorted. And they've been lied to hundreds of times by the drinker. You know, they'll have thought they've made progress. They'll have thought the other person has got sober, only to discover a vodka bottle hidden down the back of the sofa or something like that. And it's a constant series of upset and disappointment when you know a drinker and you love a drinker. It's especially hard when the drinker is still in denial, because they can be quite aggressive in their defense of their behavior. You know, don't be shocked to see how nasty they get when you lovingly mention their drinking. And they'll say things like, you know, I can stop any time I want, I just don't want to. They'll say things like, keep your nose out of my business, I'm not hurting anyone else but myself, it's my body, I'll do what I want to it. And of course, that's nonsense, because if you've lived with a drinker, you know for sure that it's not just the drinker who is affected by their alcohol use. It affects the whole household and everyone who cares about that individual. So that's nonsense from the start. But you can't force someone out of denial. If they're in denial, there's no way you can crowbar them out of it. And I would also advise that you avoid any sort of threatening language, because you have to understand that underneath this all, they're not doing it to hurt you. They're not doing it to defy you or cause you problems. They're doing it because they are addicted to a highly addictive drug. That's what alcohol is. We may dress it up in pretty bottles and sell it in supermarkets, but it's a highly addictive, very dangerous drug, and they're addicted to it. They're not trying to hurt you. So keep your communication with them loving, respectful, and honest. Avoid those threatening statements like, you better sober up or else. Or if you drink again this week, that's it. I'm leaving you. Let me tell you why that's a bad idea. Because that makes them stressed, makes them feel anxious, it makes them feel panicky. Now let me ask you a question. What do problem drinkers do when they feel stressed, anxious, and panicky? They drink. They have this program in their head that says the best solution to stress is to drink. So you're almost setting yourself up to fail with this sort of approach. You need to have an honest conversation with them about where they are and how it's affecting everyone in the household. Timing is important. The moment you want to do this is probably the wrong moment, because the moment you want to do this is something bad has probably just happened. You've probably just picked them up off the floor, covered in their own vomit or something like that. That's the moment you really want to sit them down and give them a talking to. It's the wrong time. You don't want to talk to them when they're drunk, when they're drinking, or when they've got a hangover. You don't want to have this conversation on the fly as they're going out the door to work. This is a sit-down conversation about how much I love you. I love you. And this is what you're doing to me. This is what you're doing to you. This is what you're doing to the children. This is what you're doing to our family. And then you establish where the line is. And you don't cross this line. You try and encourage them to get help, but you can't force them to get help. So you consistently encourage them and you say, I will never do this for you. I will never do that for you. I will never do this. And it can be things like, I will never call in work sick for you because you're hungover. I will never get you out of the drunk tank because you drove drunk last night. I will never do this, and so on and so on. And you stick to that. Because unless you stick to these kind of boundaries, eventually you'll become woven into the pantomime of the drinker. You will be pulled into the drama. And before long, you'll be trapped into making phone calls to work every Monday morning explaining that your husband or your wife is sick again. And then you'll be bailing them out of jail, and you'll be lying to friends and family about why you had to go home early and things like this. And before long, you're just a big part of the drama, and it's going to affect your mental health. So encourage them, support them, love them, but have a line in the sand. Have a very clear position that you never cross, and stick to that. Consistency is important, and protecting your own mental health and your own situation is vital in this. And finally, let me just say that you can get some support. Al-Anon is out there to help the partners of drinkers. And also when your partner, when your friend, when your loved one comes to you and says, I'm ready, I need some help, then guide them in the direction that you think will be best for them. Send them to the local AA meeting. Recommend them to a local rehab facility. Point them in the direction of my website, stopdrinkingexpert.com. The chances are the first thing they try is not going to work. That's just the way it goes. They'll have to keep trying until they find the path that's right for them. But keep encouraging them to keep trying. Like with anything else in life, passion and persistence is how you get to success. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, get in touch. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video.
And it's the only drug on planet Earth that when you get a problem with it, they blame you and not the drug. That doesn't happen with any other substance. If you think about it, cigarettes. You tell someone you're addicted to cigarettes, they don't go, oh, you dirty smokeaholic. You're a broken, weak-willed smokeaholic. You're going to be a smokeaholic for the rest of your life. They don't do that. They don't give you that label and say, well, that's it. You're broken forever now.
I really consider this because it's different. It's different to anything you can find out there, and it's it gives you real mental freedom from the clutches of alcohol.
I had an email about 6 months ago from a lady. She said, I was thinking about joining your course, but then I've just seen that red wine is good for your heart. How do you defend against that, Mr. Stop Drinking Expert?
It was in the reader's side.
Yeah, it must be true. I said, well, the defense against it is it's not true. And that's the biggest defense you can always have.